You can go ahead, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair, and thank you all for joining us again with the Islamic Institute of Toronto's Resilient Hour. I'm Radia Chaudhry, and I'm honored today to moderate this session on behalf of IIT. We're streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, so please feel free to comment and let us know how we're doing and ask questions as well. Also, please subscribe and share this stream with others. This evening, I have the pleasure of introducing two of Scarborough's MPs, Shaun Chen and Gary Anandasangaree. Brother Farid Amin, chairman of IIT, will engage them in a discussion on the federal government's response to COVID-19 that includes support for families, institutions, and students, and how communities like ours can be resilient and bounce back from this pandemic.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
I can hear you, Brother Farid. Please go ahead.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. First of all, I'd like to thank Sister Radia for agreeing to moderate this session. And Sister Radia, as many of you know, is a budding journalist and another stellar member of the Muslim community. And she is one of the gems among our young people. So I'd like to thank her for agreeing to moderate this session today. First of all, let me begin again by welcoming two of Canada's most hardworking members of parliament, Gary Anandasangaree and Shaun Chen. And I don't think this is any exaggeration when if I would say that both of these gentlemen are true friends of the Islamic community. And in particular, if I can be parochial for a moment, they are true friends of the Islamic Institute of Toronto. These are two individuals who have been with us day in and day out, whether they're running for elections or not, whether they're in campaign mode or not. They epitomizes true public servants. And I'd like, on behalf of the entire community, to thank both Gary and Shaun for their unwavering support to the Islamic Institute and also other religious and non-religious organizations in Scarborough and beyond. We are extremely privileged to have them with us this evening. And once again, I would like to welcome them to the Islamic Institute of Toronto. I know they miss the IIT. I know that both Shaun and Gary in Ramadan in particular are with us, whether it's Friday prayers or for an Iftar on a weekday or a weekend. Both of them are, their presence at the IIT is as frequent. And I know that I think I can say on their behalf that they do miss the organization, and we do miss them as well, because we consider them to be part of our community. I have been in contact with both Gary and Shaun on an ongoing basis throughout this COVID-19, and I have to say that both of them have been very responsive, whether there are questions that I have from members of our community, members of our business community, individuals, or even if I have questions from an organizational point of view from the Islamic Institute, both of them have been very responsive. And I want to thank them on your behalf, and again, welcome them. So before we get going and before we start asking the tough questions, I just want to say on behalf of all Canadians, I think I would be remiss if I don't acknowledge the collaboration happening between the federal and provincial government across this federation. And I think this is not only a sense of the maturity of the federation, but it's also what Canadians want. In a time of crisis, we need our governments to come together. And we have seen over the last several weeks unprecedented support between Ontario and between Canada, between our Premier and between the Prime Minister and between our MPPs and MP. And I just want to say, gentlemen, we are privileged to have such leadership locally, provincially, and federally. And we're very extremely pleased to see the kind of collaboration happening across jurisdiction. So Gary, why don't I start with you, and perhaps you can provide us with sort of a 2 or 3 minute message for the Muslim community before we actually get into the Q&A. So I'll ask you to say a few words, and I'll ask Shaun to also say a few words. I think, Gary, you're still on mute.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Brother Fareed, and thank you, Radia. Thank you, everyone, for putting this together. I want to first start by just thanking you for this opportunity to be able to come together with my good friend and colleague, Shaun Chen, who's, in fact, whose writing IIT sits on. But of course, we share the constituency with many members of this congregation. I want to just start off by wishing everyone Ramadan Mubarak. I know it's a very important time of the year for the Muslim community. And I know many of my friends are doing virtual iftars and meeting family members virtually. And it really is a very difficult time to have Ramadan in such closed conditions where we're self-isolating, because Ramadan is about getting together. It's about the unity. It's about the brother and sisterhood that exists within the Muslim community, and of course, to understand the Quran and to be able to help others. I think it's such an important time to be doing that. But of course, doing it in a socially distant way is quite difficult. But apart from that, this is also a great time for us to reflect on what we have in our lives. I know the last 9 weeks for me personally have been one of introspection. We're really understanding what we have in our lives and to understand what many others who do not. And that starts off with the great country that we have, in which all levels of government are working together. And I want to add to what Brother Fareed said. The municipal government has also been phenomenal, and we're working in tandem on virtually every major issue that affects us on COVID. And we look forward to making sure that we're addressing all the concerns of our citizens, and I look forward to with my colleague to be able to answer some questions that may be there. But as you know, most Fridays, if I'm in town, Shaun and I usually drop by IIT during Ramadan, and we do pick up 1 or 2 iftars. And we're missing that chai, I can tell you that right now. But I know very soon we'll be able to start coming back in some form or another, and be able to celebrate. And we do have the technology right now to do this. So thank you for this invitation, and I look forward to speaking to all of you.
Thanks, Gary. And I'll ask Shaun. And Shaun, once again, thanks. Shaun was at our drive-through contactless cupcake pickup yesterday, and he and his staff were there to distribute face masks. So once again, Shaun, your presence was greatly appreciated and felt. And I'll invite you now to say a few words to our community.
Thank you very much, Brother Fareed, and thank you, Sister Radia. I also want to acknowledge Marianne, who's doing the sign language today, as well my colleague and friend Gary Anandasangaree. We are very honored to be part of this event tonight and to wish all of you, first and foremost, Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan Kareem. This is, of course, a very unusual time where people around the world, including in our local communities, are suffering. And so it is a difficult time. But as was said earlier, we are seeing such incredible strength and resiliency in our communities. Yesterday was a prime example where members of the IIT community came together to fundraise through the drive-through cupcake sale. And not only that, the folks from Conquer 19, COVID-19 were there as well to lend a helping hand. And we really ought to continue this spirit of giving back, of coming together in this time, because people need the support and people need to have that hope. So I really want to thank IIT for everything that you are doing. We are continuing as a government, as Gary mentioned, to do everything we can to put measures to help Canadians, to help the most vulnerable, to support them in this time of great need. So I look forward to the questions tonight and to having a discussion with you on how we can continue that work. But I just want to first and foremost wish all of you a happy Ramadan, and of course acknowledge the great work of IIT and encourage all of you to continue to give back and support our local mosque because they rely on the community coming together to make this mosque the wonderful center that it is, and continue to do the amazing virtual programs and other initiatives that are being done. So thank you once again, and happy Ramadan.
Thank you very much, Shaun. And I just want to also again acknowledge the support that we have received from both Gary and Shaun for summer students program. I know both of them have been very, very supportive, and not only in providing and securing financial support for us to run our summer camp, but they've also made available to us a lot of resources that we can use in that endeavor. So once again, we don't often say thank you to our elected officials, and there's a great deal of cynicism across the spectrum sometimes about elected officials, but I can say with a lot of certainty, and this hasn't always been the case, that we have two individuals who are working for us day in and day out, and again, we want to thank them. So one of the issues, and perhaps I'll get Mr. Chen to comment on this, and you did allude to this, the fact that Ramadan for most masajids, for most Islamic centers, is our primary revenue generating period. For most masjids, they will tell you that the amount of revenue that's generated during the blessed month of Ramadan is between 50 and it could be as high as 80%. Not having, being able to congregate, not having our centers open is a significant challenge for many of these organizations. And one of the things that as well, based on your experience with us, is that we also have staff and we have individuals that work on a full-time basis with us. So maybe you can tell us a bit about what kind of support has been announced by the government to support charitable organizations that might be of benefit to IIT. I know we have we've applied, for example, for the wage subsidies, because I think that certainly is something that we would qualify for. But is there anything else that you would like to sort of tell our listeners about what might be available from the feds to provide support to charitable organizations?
Sure, of course. Thank you, Brother Fareed. So I would certainly encourage IIT to pursue the emergency wage subsidy. That is a program that provides 75% of the wages of employees of businesses, nonprofits, charities, and it can help bring back employees who have been let go, or it can even help keep employees from being laid off because of the lack of revenue that organizations are facing right now. Just recently, we've also announced $350 billion through the Emergency Community Support Fund, and that is specifically for charities and nonprofits, because a lot of them have been doing great work. They've been transitioning, adapting to the new reality that we're facing, and they're reaching out to help seniors, to help low-income families, people with disabilities, those who have lost jobs, new immigrants, and other vulnerable groups during this time. So that money is flowing through 3 national organizations, including the United Way, Community Foundations Canada, and the Red Cross, and it will go to then local community groups, organizations to target vulnerable groups. It could, for example, be home deliveries for seniors to bring them the medications they need, or to bring them groceries, bring people with disabilities to their medical appointments. So money can be used in different ways, and I encourage, if IIT is eligible, to consider that avenue. But of course, there are the programs that are reaching out to help those who are losing employment, the Canada Emergency benefit, we've just extended that so that we make sure the money is there. But we will continue to advocate for charities because they, I believe, are going to be part of the solution moving forward to help everybody get back on their feet. The work that they're going to do, including that of IIT, is so important to keep the community strong during this time, so that once we conquer COVID-19, we can come out of this strong and we can get back Canada to where it was.
Thank you, Shaun. And Gary, you know this because you're a friend of IIT and you've been with us on a number of occasions, and you know that a significant demographic cohort that we serve is our seniors. And during the last several weeks, we have made a specific attempt to engage our seniors. We've had a specific program once a week on Thursdays at 2:30 to engage our seniors. They can call in and they can ask their questions. We deliver if we can. We pick up their donations. We try and stay in touch with them because they're important to us. And I also want to take a moment to pay tribute to all those who have lost their lives as a result of COVID-19, in particular, our seniors in long-term care homes. And I think in many respects, and this is not, I'm not casting blame here on anyone, but I think, in some respect, I think we can all agree that we have somewhat failed our seniors because of what has happened. And, we've got to do better. We are one of the richest and perhaps most compassionate country on the globe. And I think that, I can say with some certainty that I know both you and Shaun share that view. Maybe you can tell us a bit about, reflecting on what our seniors have gone through, and also some of the frontline workers. I mean, what can we expect from your government in terms of focusing on that cohort and helping them get through this?
And that's a great question, Fareed. And I think first off, I think just in our local community alone, in Scarborough, we had two homes that are directly affected, severely affected. One is Seven Oaks, the other one is Altamont Care Home, and they've had over 80 people who passed on as a result of COVID, all seniors. So it's heart-wrenching to see that the people who worked all their lives, looked after all of us, and are in the later stages of their lives are not able to get the care. And it's a collective responsibility. And I think, I openly say it, yes, it's a provincial responsibility from a constitutional perspective, but morally it's something that all of us share, and to make sure that we do better, we do the right thing by ensuring that we look at what happened in the long-term care facilities and make supports available that are far better than what we have right now. 81% of the deaths because of COVID is at these homes, so we have to do much, much better. I want to start off by talking about the level of the different information that exists for people that particularly go to IIT. IIT probably has the most diverse set of members of any of the mosques that I usually go to, and you have people that speak multiple languages. And to start off, the Health Canada has material in many of the major languages spoken by members of IIT. That includes Urdu, that includes Hindi, that includes Tamil, as well as Arabic and so on. So that's the starting point. So I think if you haven't shared that information for it, it's available through the Health Canada website, and they're very comprehensive information on how to deal with the healthcare aspect, but also to deal with other aspects of COVID.
Great.
With respect to direct supports, as of April, people who were eligible for the HST rebate, GST rebate, received for a single person $400, and for couples it was $600. And right now, as part of the OAS as well as GIS, there will be an additional $500 going to individuals who receive OAS and GIS on a tax-free basis. Many seniors often ask, I think, I'm sure Shaun comes across this as well, we're putting in supports for students, we're putting in supports for people who are working. Why are you leaving the seniors out? and I think the answer to that is actually quite simple. So we have put in some measures that's going to support seniors, but it's not to the same depth as we do have for the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, because this is not an income, because most seniors are not losing income. Their expenses have gone up for sure because of medication and so on. Cost of foods have also gone up in this period. Cost of attaining food to your kitchen has also gone up. So so we're not really supplementing income per se, but we are giving additional amounts so that people can offset the expenses. So roughly for an average senior, for one person, we're looking at $800 over the period of COVID. And we're hoping that it's a modest sum, but we're hoping that'll help seniors get through the economic challenges that they may face right now.
Great, thanks, Gary. I'll hand it over back to our budding journalist, Sister Radia. Do you have some questions, Sister Radia, you want to ask our panelists?
Yes, for sure. I'm wondering about in terms of when we go back to the mosques and we slowly trickle back into our communities, it's obviously not going to look the same as it was prior to the pandemic. What will that look like when we are allowed to go back to, say, IIT? How will things like Friday congregations look like?
That's a tough question. Well, Shaun probably has the answer. I actually don't have the answer because this is really a very local issue, and something that I think just speaking to public health officials, I think every institution will have to come up with a set of parameters that works for them. IIT also has a school. You guys also run summer camps. So how's that going to work? How is that going to be different than say 1,500 people on a Friday afternoon? How do you mitigate that? I mean, luckily I think you have some outdoor space as well that could be utilized for the summer. So a combination of indoor, outdoor, as well as ensuring the strictest of physical distancing. I think, and also be respectful to the traditions and the traditions of Islam, which does require people to be very, very close to each other. So I think in many ways that answer, will come back to IIT and for the administration to work out. And I think there's some very important guides that the province will put out, and Health Canada has some guidelines as well. But the basic things about washing hands, physical distancing, making sure people are wearing masks, people are wearing, in some cases gloves as they're serving food and so on, as well as having enough places to wash hands as well as sanitizers, I think is a starting point.
So I'll add on to what Gary said. Gary, I don't have the crystal ball either, and I don't have the answer, but I think what we do know is that our government continues to work closely and taking a leadership role across the country with the provinces and territories. And there's already been a set of principles that have been agreed to between the provinces and territories and the federal government in terms of the approach Canada will take. And that is one that is based on science, it's based on public health, it's based on best practices, and it's a continuous gradual approach that is going to be thoughtful and based on evidence. So we have to work together. I know that during this month, I've heard from constituents who have seen different things happening in different parts of the world for Ramadan, for Eid prayers. I think we really need to contextualize and ensure that everyone looks at our community, our country, our province, our city, and makes decisions based on local circumstances. We need to put first and foremost the health and safety of each and every Canadian, and that includes each and every Muslim in Canada. And that is something that we all have to continue to take that very thoughtful approach on. And what that will look like over time, we really don't know, but as Gary mentioned, there are measures that I suspect will have to be in place for the foreseeable future until we can be confident that we are ensuring the health and safety of each and every person.
When you mentioned those measures, is it just a matter of we just won't be able to return back to religious centers and community centers, or is it when we do return, things are just going to look vastly different?
I think they'll look vastly different. I think it'll be incremental in many ways. So it's not going to be a full switch turning on. It's going to be like a dimmer switch opening up the lights. And I think a lot of it will have to do with our numbers, right? So how strong is our numbers? I think just putting something out there. I know you guys usually don't collect data in terms of who comes to prayers, but that may be something people may need to do just because of the need for tracing. When we do open up in phase 1, 2, or 3, where you'll need to track who was there. If there is some kind of an outbreak or a resurgence, then the best way to handle it is to be able to identify a cohort, test them, and have them either positive or negative, and then you're able to contain it within a very small segment. But I think any gathering, larger gatherings, will have to have some measures like that in place.
When it comes to Eid, which is coming up soon, I'm sure a lot of Muslim families are wondering what are some of the protocols that they can undertake. Are we allowed to, say, go visit our families and talk to each other from the porch to curbside ratio? What is allowed or would be okay?
Again, I think this is one of those things where the province is reevaluating this almost on a weekly basis or daily basis, and I think they will be making more announcements. This weekend we've had some things open up, and I think for many people, Eid is one of the most important days in people's calendar, and it's tough when those celebrations can't take place. But I think there will be some guidelines, I think, coming forward in the next couple of weeks, where or hopefully before Eid, that'll have maybe a little bit more contained type of celebration. But I think right now the number 5 is still it's still 5 people maximum in a gathering, apart from immediate family members. So I think those may loosen up as the numbers stabilize and hopefully get better.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much, Radia, and thanks, Gary and Shaun. I mean, the words I'm hearing is incremental, it's transitional, it's common sense, science-based rather than being emotive or emotional on this stuff. Interesting point, Gary, you mentioned about contact tracing, and that's something that I've been thinking about. I'm glad you raised it, which is if we are going to get ahead of this, and if we're going to perhaps prevent a second wave, we've got to be able to put measures in place to be able to, especially in a congregation that is associated with not only IIT, but Islamic Foundation, other Hindu temples, gurdwaras, mosques, temples generally, places of congregation where you have a lot of people coming in close contact with each other. The issue of contact tracing and data becomes a really important one. And the issue that Shaun mentioned as well, around being science-based rather than getting too emotional about this. And we've talked to our audience a lot during this time about us transcending the ability that we are accustomed to getting together and hugging each other and shaking each other's hands and pecking each other on the cheek. This is different, but those things, while they're part of our culture, part of who we are, they don't define us, right? Our religion, our relationship, I should say, goes beyond that. Our relationship is about this. It's about collaborating. It's about finding ways, innovative ways to reach out and speak to each other. So I'll turn it back to Sister Radia for any other question that she might have.
In terms of international students, I'm wondering about them. Brother Fareed asked about seniors, but there are so many international students who reside in Scarborough, especially Muslim international students. Is there anything currently being done to support them who might be in isolation right now?
I can ask. Shaun, did you want to take this one, or?
I'll say a few words first. there are a number of initiatives. I know there was a food initiative in our local community where food boxes were being prepared for specifically international students, and I have heard that many of them are very isolated. They're unable to get back to their home countries because of travel restrictions, and they're here alone, and there's added cost to them being here. So, like all situations, we are encouraging people to be caring and compassionate with respect to landlords. For example, we are saying to them that they need to look at this and be caring and compassionate with every tenant that they have. I know that different schools have different measures in place. I was on the phone with the CEO and president of Centennial College just last week, and he actually talked about how Centennial is making arrangements for mass housing near the airport for their international students because they have such a critical number of them, and working together with different community groups to provide support to those students. So I believe there's a lot going on, but of course, I do hope that any group that is doing this fantastic work will consider applying for some part of the $350 million, for example, that our federal government is offering to charities. At the end of the day, we're here to help Canadians. We're here to help people in Canada. So I believe that, yes, the need is incredible, and of course, there's more that we can do. But I know that there's so much happening in different places that we need to keep that up and encourage people to step in. I've had people contact me and say, "How can I help? How can I give back?" Take your pick. There is so much we can do right now to help each other.
And just two more things I want to add to that, Shaun. One is, in limited circumstances, some international students are eligible for CERB. So if they qualify, if they made $5,000 last year, and if their job was interrupted because of COVID-19, then they're technically allowed to apply for CERB, and that does include many international students. Secondly, we've opened the work permit. So right now there's a 20-hour restriction on international students being able to work in Canada. We've now per week. Now we've taken that cap off. So if there's a student that's studying something related to health sciences that will directly support people in the healthcare sector, then they're able to work regular hours, so more than 20 hours. So we made some measures. I know it's a Canada, I think we benefit $39 billion a year by international students. That's a massive support to our economy, and I think we are really working hard to ensure that we fill in the gaps with respect to international students, and I think there'll be more that may be coming in the near future.
Thank you, Gary and Shaun, so much for making the time to do this with us. We're creeping close to Iftar time, so I have to move along to announcements, but thank you again. We look forward to the additional support as we move forward.
Radia, can I just say one thing just before, I should have said at the beginning. There's a lot of frontline workers who come to IIT who are members of the congregation. I think, we just are so thankful for all of the work that they do each and every day, putting their families on the line. So we really want to thank them, and God bless them in every possible way they can.
Ameen.
And I will simply echo Gary's comment. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, especially to our frontline workers, and thank you to the entire congregation. Eid Mubarak, Ramadan Mubarak.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Shaun.
Thank you, everybody. So I'm going to move on to some announcements before the adhan goes off and we can all eat again. This Ramadan, we've been able to get creative and offer online programming in lieu of not being able to gather at IIT. You can check the website at islam.ca for the list of daily programs, and that includes daily Quran recitations, Resilient Hour, like we just did, and Gems of Quranic Wisdom, Saturday lectures, as well as Friday online talks for Jummah. We're especially excited to announce Tuesday night's program. Typically, we would have over 2,000 brothers and sisters at IIT for our Khatam al-Quran and Dua. This year, of course, we can't gather, so on Tuesday night at 9:45 p.m., we encourage all of you to tune in as our team will broadcast live from IIT. We will be joined by Dr. Abdullah Hakim Quick, Brother Farid Amin, and Qari Ali Salim Jahider as we share our journey with you, seek your support, and finish with a dua by our respected Qari. We're also excited to bring you our Eid program on Sunday, May 24th. That's from 8 to 10 a.m. with scholars and community leaders. And while this Eid will be different, you'll be able to join us in Takbirat, perform your Eid prayers in your homes, and listen to our Eid address and program. You can see all of this on islam.ca/Ramadan for a simple guide on how to perform Eid prayers at home and for the program schedule. Please also note the following. You don't want to forget to pay Fitra or Zakatul Fitr, and you'll want to pay this before Eid. So that's $10 a person in a household for Fitra. And for Fidya, for those who can't fast, is also $10 per day. Lastly, IIT needs your support. Please be 1 in 1,000 believers giving only $300 each for our educational programs and operations. All financial transactions can be done securely on our website at islam.ca/donate. Brother Fareed, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just want to sort of thank Sister Radia for doing such a terrific job. And one of the things that we've tried to do at IIT is give our young professionals the opportunity for some additional exposure. Not that they need it, but these are very, very accomplished individuals. I feel very privileged to be part of this organization wherein we've tried to profile our young people. These young people are, of course, our future. And we are extremely privileged to have them among us. So, Sister Radi, I want to thank you for a terrific job this evening, and all our volunteers who have moderated over the last several weeks. Our youngsters in particular have been amazing. And, I said to the board a couple of days ago that I see the future and I like it, because I think the future of Islam in this part of the city is secured. And I would like to think that an organization like IIT has had a small role to play in the upbringing of these young people. So, Jazakallah khair, Sister Radia. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to bless you and your family, and may He continue to allow you to achieve your objectives and your goals, both in this world and the hereafter. I just want to add one final thing before I let you go. I think I have a minute or so. And that is to remind you that this week, being the final week of the blessed month of Ramadan, we will be opening our offices between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So if brothers or sisters are out there who would like to make a donation, please feel free to drop in. Of course, when you drop in, if there are others there at the donation table, please make sure that you practice physical distancing. And our office assistant will be there to take your donations, and we will email you your temporary receipt. And of course, at the end of the year, we will email you your permanent receipt. I also want to say thank you to all of you. The response to date has been tremendous, and hopefully, inshallah, we will be able to provide you with a more fulsome update on Tuesday. So Saradia mentioned that on the 27th night, inshallah, we will be having an extended program in place of Gems of Quranic Wisdom, and we'll provide you with an update. So I encourage all of you to please join us on next Tuesday, inshallah, for our extended Gems of Quranic Wisdom, and also that will be the 27th night. But despite the economic circumstances we find ourselves, our community has been extremely supportive. So from all of us at the IIT, the entire IIT community, I want to extend our heartfelt thank you. Jazakumullah khair, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to make you even more generous in the last 10 nights of Ramadan, and also try to ensure that all of us optimize these last few days of Ramadan. My dear brothers and my sisters, thank you very much. Please continue to tune into our programs, and please support the Islamic Institute of Toronto. We are here to serve you, and please provide us with your feedback. I also want to thank all the individuals behind our online programs. We have Sister Marianne today. Yesterday we had Devon. These are individuals who work behind the scene to bring us our ASL. We also have a number of sisters who are doing closed caption, one of whom is next door to me today. I want to thank them and thank Brother Mamoon as well for the work that he has done in putting these programs together. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله